Hello, welcome. It's good to see you again, and today I'm going to be talking about variable neutral density filters. Now recently I decided I wanted a new one. Normally my attitude to buying things like filters is to buy the best quality one and be done with it. But this time I was a little bit unprepared to spend that eye-watering amount of money for what this time just amounts to be an experiment. So, looking online, I saw there's a huge variation in prices, and I couldn't help but wonder whether paying more actually meant you got a better quality filter. So today I'm looking at 4 filters, and the price range goes from 24 Australian dollars to 350 Australian dollars. And I'll look at whether they impact upon image quality, whether they're prone to flare, and whether they affect the autofocus performance of the camera. The first filter we're going to look at is the Fotga ND2 to ND400 adjustable neutral density filter. Now this is the cheapest filter on test, costing around $24 on eBay for a 77mm sized filter. The filter is made from an unspecified Japanese optical glass, and there's no mention of any optical coatings at all. The frame is made out of aluminium and has a satin black finish. There are no hard stops, but there is a scale indicating where the minimum and maximum effect occurs. The filters are made in China and come in a flimsy rectangular hard plastic case. In fact, it was so flimsy that it broke virtually on arrival and I've had to replace it, put the filter in something else. When we test this filter, it certainly has an effect on image sharpness. It decreased the sharpness and the contrast of the tested Sony 50mm f1.8 lens the most out of all the filters tested here today. At the minimum density setting there was a definite reduction in contrast and sharpness, which deteriorated even further as you moved towards the maximum density setting, and it also had a very pronounced colour cast. When testing the video autofocusing, the Fotga produced the worst result. This is the Fotga variable neutral density filter. And does this one have any impact upon the image quality or the focusing performance? The AF on the 50mm lens without a filter was snappy and confident, but with the filter it was very hesitant and slow, and the images were decidedly soft. Shooting a burst of still images, the Fotga filter only achieved an in-focus rate of 67%. And the images were all very low in contrast, very soft, and showed glare. Speaking of glare, when testing for it specifically, the Fotga produced the worst result, exhibiting veiling and ghosting flare and strong halation around the light source. The second filter to look at is the Urth variable ND2 to 400 filter. Now this is the next cheapest filter, coming in at 82 Australian dollars for a 77mm size. Now Urth state that their filter has 8 layers of coatings to make it easier to clean, but no mention of whether they improve optical quality. They also claim there are no colour casts, which unfortunately is not true. But on the positive side, there was no impact on image sharpness at the minimum setting and a slight reduction in sharpness at the maximum setting. The frame is aluminium and finished in matte black, and there are hard stops at each end of the adjustment range with a scale mark showing maximum and minimum. Out of all the filters on test, the Urth has the nicest presentation, being supplied in a circular metal tin, and it was the only filter to be supplied with a lens cleaning cloth. To make you feel even better about your purchase, Urth say they will plant 5 trees with every purchase of a filter. They are an Australian company, but the filters are made in China. This is the Urth variable neutral density filter. Do you think it's had any impact upon the image quality and the autofocusing performance? When shooting video, the Urth filter had no visible effect upon the autofocus, but strangely enough did on the stills performance, achieving an 80% hit rate. For the glare test, it shared the best performance with the Cokin filter. And speaking of the Cokin filter, the Cokin Nuances NDX2-400 filter is the next one we're looking at. And the Cokin filter comes in at 176 Australian dollars for the 77mm size tested. Now, in terms of the optical construction, the Cokin is made of shot glass B270, which apparently is renowned for its high transmittance and low reflection, according to Cokin's website. The frame is made of aluminium with a matte black finish, and it has a series of dot markings with minimum at one end and maximum at the other. The dots don't correspond with any particular effect. The filter comes in a round, hard plastic case that is hinged. It doesn't feel particularly sturdy, and I actually find it quite awkward to open for some reason. Although the packaging states it is designed in France, there is no indication as to where the actual filter is made. When testing, there is no impact on image sharpness at both the minimum and maximum settings, and a very, very slight colour cast. This is the Cokin variable neutral density filter. How does this affect the image quality and the autofocus performance? The Cokin filter performed very strongly in the video autofocus test, showing no effect on performance or image quality. The stills performance was the second best at 82%, and the results in the glare test were joint best. The final filter we're going to look at is the Heliopan variable grey neutral density filter. The Heliopan cost 350 Australian dollars for the 77mm size. It also uses shot glass but makes no mention of any coatings. The frame is made in Germany of brass with a matte black finish to avoid reflections, and has hard stops at each end of the adjustment range, plus a numerical scale marked from 1 to 12. But the numbers don't correspond to any ND value. The filter comes in a square, hard plastic case that is hinged and is very sturdy. The tested performance was similar to that of the Cokin. A slight colour cast, although of a slightly different colour to that of the Cokin, and no effect on image sharpness. This is the Heliopan variable neutral density filter. Do you think it has any impact upon image quality and the autofocusing performance? For the video autofocus test, there was no impact on focus performance and no effect on the image quality. For stills autofocusing, the Heliopan was the best performer, with a score of 86%. The Heliopan didn't do very well in the glare test, exhibiting pronounced veiling and ghosting flare. It wasn't as bad as the Fotga, but it was significantly worse than the Urth and the Cokin. So in conclusion, what can I say? Well, before I started testing, I definitely believed that you got what you paid for. I fully expected the Fotga filter to be the worst performer and the Heliopan to be the best, leaving the Cokin and the Urth filters to battle for second and third places. Well, I only got part of it right. The Fotga was and is definitely the worst performing filter of the bunch. Its only redeeming feature is the price. It's incredibly cheap. The real surprise was that the Heliopan, while being marginally the best performer, wasn't delivering any significant improvement over the Cokin, which cost half the amount. The Urth filter also was a very solid performer. Their 77mm filter is half the price of the Cokin, yet delivered a result that was only a fraction worse, and it was probably undetectable in real-world use. Yet the filter has hard stops and is more nicely made and presented. Well, if I needed to buy a filter again and start all over again, I wouldn't waste my money on the Heliopan. The Cokin would be my choice if I could live without the hard stops, and the Urth would be the filter I'd choose if I couldn't. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this of some use. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.